Today, we're going to hit up two of the most misunderstood Paladin skills in Diablo 2, the level manipulating enemy controlling skill known as Conversion, which I will probably accidentally call Conviction at least once, and the mechanically mangled elemental brick on a stick that is Vengeance. Both these skills have interesting utility, but due to how Diablo is designed and how they specifically work, they see far less use since neither can really match the speed or utility of more straightforward skills, despite having rather fun mechanics. Starting with the more popular of the two, we have Vengeance, essentially the cornerstone skill of a build known as the Avenger. The skill basically adds fire, lightning, and cold damage to all of your attacks, but instead of adding a flat value, it's based on a percent of, well, some of your damage, but not all of it. And because of that, this is going to be convoluted, but basically it takes the damage you see on your weapon in your inventory, which already includes the calculations for its built-in modifiers, and then adds to that any plus minimum and maximum flat damage from off-weapon sources as well, such as charms, jewels, boots, etc., and then it multiplies the result by the listed percents. This means that any aura boost, any percent damage on armor, gloves, etc., and not even the ever-desirable damage plus ability from stuff like Grief will end up impacting the damage of Vengeance itself. This results in Vengeance having some weird weapon loadouts and a bit more planning around your gear proper if you want to really boost that elemental damage. Now, even with the limited pool of ways to boost the number it's based off of, there are plenty of ways to boost the skill damage itself, with skill levels adding generally the most damage, at 6% per level per element for a total of 18% if you're just boosting Vengeance itself, individual resist auras adding 10% per level for just the single element they represent, and Salvation aura adding the least amount per level with 2% per element, for a total of about 6%. And it's also worth noting the chill duration from the skill is based solely on the level of Vengeance itself, and of course any cold duration you have from gear. Now, normally the explanation would stop there with combat skills, but due to the nature of Vengeance, we need to talk about skill boost effects as well. Starting off with the most asked question, does Mage Fist work with it, which is plus fire skills? And the answer is unfortunately no. For some unknown reason, Vengeance is not considered a fire skill. That said, percent sources such as Rainbow Facets and, for the sake of Vengeance, Sorceresses, Fire and Lightning Masteries do impact the damage of the skill, and ultimately in a nice way. This is because these percent damage sources are applied after the calculation for the damage is already done. So if you, for example, have a 200 damage weapon with a flat 200% Vengeance because it's low level or something for everything, and let's say 20% from Lightning Rainbow Facets, you would deal a total of 1280 elemental damage on top of your normal attack damage. This is because you would be doing 400 fire, 400 cold, and then 480 lightning damage thanks to the Rainbow Facets. Obviously, these numbers can get much higher since you not only have the plus skills and synergies boosting them, meaning it's not uncommon for an Avenger to hit around 500 to 600% in a couple elements, with around 300% in the third before the elemental booster from items. Now, something I normally wouldn't do in these game manual videos is a pinch of strategy discussion. I generally prefer focusing on fire and lightning on my Avengers since they are the easiest elements to get piercing and boosting for use alongside Conviction at least. They are the best resist to push over max as well, thanks to the passive effects we talked about whenever we did the resist aura video. And lastly, your chill duration is only affected by the level of Vengeance, nothing else. Not to mention that cold is also the hardest resist to break in the game. Now, as far as our other misunderstood skill, we have Conversion. This one is misunderstood because frankly it's almost never used, outside of some very specific cases. And you really need to know how it works to keep yourself from getting killed by your own auras. Now, the skill's base function is to turn your enemy to your side when you basically just swing at them, since the skill does not actually need to hit to trigger, though this conversion only lasts for 16 seconds. And with 2.4, the chance of this happening, the conversion that is, had its cap increased from the old 50% all the way up to the new 90%, meaning you can actually kind of build around almost reliably converting whatever you hit. Now, as expected, for the most part, you can only convert normal or minion monsters, and though a few of the base monster types are naturally immune to it, they're not super common. And probably the last fairly well-known aspect of this skill, and usually the reason a lot of people don't use it, is that when converted, the monsters gain your active support auras, which can result in them using those auras against you for a couple seconds at least after the conversion expires. Sometimes meaning extra fun, high-level fanaticism mobs punching you in the face. Now, the less known aspects of this skill are how it impacts your experience gain, as well as how it can dynamically change a monster's stats. As far as the experience gains go, basically you'll get experience for anything the converted monsters kill, but you will not get experience if the converted monster is killed by enemies. So it can slow down your leveling a tiny amount, but in the long run it won't really matter too much. Though whenever it comes to the stats of the monsters, it's kind of an odd thing, since it will look at your level and compare it to the level of the monster naturally, and it will set the monster's level and their stats to match the lower of the two while they're under your control at least. So if you're a low-level character converting high-level monsters, you may be trying to fight that level 85 Frenzy Tar pack with a level 72 converted Frenzy Tar itself. I still have yet to understand why they added this extra layer, except maybe there's some weird fringe PvP concern or wanting to keep conversion from being the go-to for low-level challenges, but it's there and is one reason why your converted beasties may be fighting an uphill battle. Now, there's also some oddities that vary sadly depending on what version of Diablo 2 you play, though pretty much if you're lower level than the converted enemy, you can expect them to lose life when converted from friend back to enemy, though how this behaves is pretty significantly different between Resurrected and Lord of Destruction, so yeah, it does help out, but it helps out more in the older version. So, do you have any builds you enjoy with either of these skills, or do you stick with the standard fare for the Paladin? Mention it down below, and a special thanks to those who actively support the channel, and if you want to see more detailed dives into skills, check out the playlist on the screen right now.